5 seconds. Sir, I agree wholeheartedly with the sentiments expressed in favor of public cooperation, in favor of the importance of public cooperation. I would like to place this question of public cooperation much higher than they have done in relation to the success of our 5-year plans. It is indispensable for the success of the 5-year plans, not only for the 5-year plans but also for the progress of the country in every direction. Public cooperation is of supreme importance. When we think of a plan, usually it occurs to us that the requisites for the successful implementation of it are materials, machines, financial resources, and personnel. Of course, personnel is very important, trained personnel of all categories, but I personally feel that there are those other things less tangible which are even of greater importance. When these have been secured adequately, those other things will follow. They are a sense of unity in the country, a sense of discipline in the country, and enlightened and enthusiastic cooperation of the people in all the various development programs and the various schemes for the building up of the country. Therefore, I think that a discussion of the question in this House has been of very great assistance. We think of the people merely as if they are beneficiaries of the plans. They are much more than that. They are, of course, the collaborators and makers of the plans. That it is only when we succeed in securing that realization on the part of the people and that effective contribution from the people on that basis that things really will start moving very much more quickly than they do now. Our whole concept of public cooperation is very limited. We think of only people attending our meetings and of a little shramdan here and there. The idea of public cooperation is very much deeper than that. It is much more fundamental. There are millions of people in the country who are in the fields, factories, and officers. The moment that begin to see that it is on a little better work, harder work on their part, that the progress of this country depends, that realization itself will make for greater, quicker, and accelerated progress. As was pointed out by one honorable member, it is a question of attitudes, it is a question of certain perception, a certain understanding. There has to be an understanding of what is going in the country, what the prospects are before us, how they are related to our welfare as individuals and as families, and also to the welfare of posterity. There is also something more than this intellectual appreciation. It is an emotional link with all that is happening. Public cooperation, therefore, has to be understood in that sense. It is atmosphere which is created in the country in which all these schemes and all these development programs are going to function. That is important for their success. That atmosphere depends upon the people, their minds, and their attitudes. There is also the question of resources. People help not only by their work, the resources also are drawn from them. They pay in various ways, taxes, loans, etc. If we want to step up, our development investment has to be increased. The resources for the public sector and the private sector come from the savings of the community. This means economy and avoidance of wasteful expenditure. one honorable member said that austerity should not be restricted to the workers only. I never said that austerity should be practiced by the poor workers. I have always fought for higher wages for them. Certainly, if we see that there is a small number of people who are rich, well, that small number also has to be called upon to avoid ostentatious expenditure and avoid wasteful expenditure, consumption and wasteful expenditure. When we are thinking of a more equitable distribution and putting more money in the hands of a large number of people, it is not only the savings of a few that are going to push up the resources needed for the plan. Let it be very clear, it will have to be the savings of larger numbers of the community that will make the plan a success. Of course, it is always understood that those who are at the lower rung of the ladder certainly have nothing to spare, but at various levels beneath that of the people who may have crores and many lakhs, there are various groups whose savings are required. And if we are to go away with the impression that it is only the income taxpayer and the rich whose savings and whose austerity are going to be sufficient, then it is not going to be so. The question of harder work, more honest work, economy, austerity in various degrees, all these are important for the plan. There is the question of the sense of discipline, of how we behave towards each other and how we provoke each other. The occasion may be very small, but it may appear at the time to be something of a crisis, but when it is considered in relation to the vast question, development of the country, the future of the country, that small trouble which arises out of one thing or the other pales into significance even from the point of view of the larger interest of those very groups. If they create disturbances, if they create a commotion, if they create a sense of insecurity, that is bound to hamper the progress of the plan, and they will suffer, among others, perhaps much more than by anything that they may gain by the things which provoke them into these things. It is just incidentally that I mentioned this. There the people have to cooperate, but there is the other aspect. Of course, they have to bear the brunt of it. The initiative for public cooperation has to be theirs.